Hey everybody, this is Perch, and I'm answering a reader question. And in this case, this comes to us from, you know what? I can't pronounce this. I can't pronounce this name, so I'm not going to try. But we'll put it up there on the screen. And the mail basically goes like this: to visualize question. To greet. I am a power of attorney of the establishment. Our business is popular and always produces the good blanks that are used in 14 countries. You can read reviews of us by. We offer to do video integration or make a video review on our provisions lasting up to 37 seconds. Where make a video in your native language. We also want to note that our products work on PC and laptop. Please write to us as soon as you get acquainted with the materials. You will be able to get acquainted with the materials at the link below. There's a link here that goes to what appears to be a porn site. Archive password 2021. Ooh, dear. I shouldn't have just put that out there. Oh, no. We are grateful. We'll be waiting for you and your post. Interesting. I will definitely follow up on this absolutely 100% legitimate mail. No, I actually got a different question here, and if you clicked on the thumbnail, you know what it is. So, has comic art gotten worse? All right, so this comes from a reader who writes, by the way, I'm never sure whether some people don't like their names displayed in the in the video. So I just say a reader, a viewer. So I apologize if you want me to mention your name or you don't care, that's important to you, just say so. Otherwise, I'll try and protect your yourself as much as possible. Hey Perch, not to sound like an old man yelling at clouds. There's nothing wrong with that. But I went back and reread some comics from the last time I seriously collected back in 2004, 2010. I remember the art largely being better. A lot of it was during that time period, just bluntly. I mean, not to cut to the chase a little bit, but 2004, 2010, you saw a lot of artists coming in. I mean, you had Gary Frank on like a regular book. You had, you just had a lot of good artists back then. Not even for just big tentpole titles, but even a random miniseries like Union Jack and Stormbreaker had amazing art, while starring who could generously be described as B-tier characters. That is generous. Union Jack, B-list. I mean, you should hope. I'm not saying all art today is bad or unprofessional. It just seems a bit less polished, and the quality seems to drop more on lower priority titles. Am I imagining this, or is this a real thing? Well, good question. First off, yes, I think, no, I guess I should put it this other way. Of course, disclaimer, art is subjective, and different people have different things they like, and maybe you don't like the art, but other people do, and who knows, maybe, there's a lot of people who really love the art in titles today. However, when we put the objective stuff aside, and or subjective, everything is, up to your own opinion. I do think it's an objective fact that art has gotten worse. And I think there's a couple structural reasons for this. We haven't raised rates significantly. We are outsourcing more and usually for less, meaning they're finding artists from different places in the globe, paying less for it. And on top of that, you see two factors. One, digital is a core factor, and I think digital cuts. One, with people not really understanding how to use the tools, it allows more cheats. It allows more easy tracing of panels, which has led to people not understanding some of the basic fundamentals of drawing. And on top of that, I think that a business model for a lot of artists at one time, and still is for some, is to draw it on, paper, and then they can go sell that art. Well, they can't sell original digital art. So I think the desire to really spend a lot of time on a page kind of goes away. If you're, detailing a very iconic splash page, if you're doing it on paper, you know that you can turn around and sell this thing for $1,000 or more. If you're doing it on digital, you're not going to get any of that money. You can't sell it for that. So what's your incentive to really go all out for it? I mean, I've talked to several artists who say this directly. The other thing that's happened is that the penciler and inker are often the same person now. Once upon a time, the inker could come through and really spend time polishing up some of this art, making it look nice and crisp. And you saw this certainly for the 70s, 80s, 90s, and this time period you're talking about, 2004, 2010. You saw a lot of polish come in with inking. But when the penciler and inker are the same, and they're using digital, generally means you're getting kind of a quick rough, and then you're just getting the comic. It doesn't, they're not spending that time polishing it up. So I think that's another massive factor here. But I definitely think comic art has gotten worse, unfortunately. I think that it's, the money's not there, the time isn't there, the tools and technology is not there. I think that's all very, very true. I think when you also load into that extraneous factors like, hey, this is a Native American character, so you need to find a Native American artist. There's just not, your pool of talent to draw from is smaller. I also think that, in many cases, editors are strapped thin. They're increasingly relying on their Rolodex of friends that they either knew from, CBR or some website they used to work for, or the comic shop that they used to hang out in. And so once again, your talent pool is smaller. Doesn't mean these people are bad people. It just means that rather than look over 20 different portfolios and pick the best one for the comic, you're going to the one or two people from your existing network and giving them work. And you're giving them work at really small wages where they're also probably working another job. And, this is the inevitable result. The hard part is that it's going to be very tough to turn this around, particularly for the quote unquote mainstream comic industry, because the rates, there's not money out there to raise the rates. They're not hiring more editors. They're not putting more time there. They're not installing a program. I mean, the Milestone Initiative is probably the closest we've seen anything come to actually trying to set up a program where, you can kind of evaluate talent and get a leg up. That's you're just not seeing it. I think that's a major problem. Until those things change, I don't think this changes. I also think, you will see people get more comfortable with digital for sure. But, I think just until you can figure out how to fix the business model with digital, how to fix the time, how to fix how some of the inking works, all that's going to be a major problem. So, I think comic art has gotten worse. I also think the other part of this is a little bit psychological, because what you see is if you go look at, like, say, J. Scott Campbell when he first started, his art looks a lot rougher than it does today. You look at Jim Lee, his art looks a lot rougher than it looks today. Today, what you're seeing is current artists like Phil Jimenez and others who are kind of really have come into their own at this particular moment in time. And they are, they're established, they're doing good work, it's polished, they know their craft, they're great. The people who will be great in 5 to 10 years, we're just seeing now. And because of the rapid fire way comics are coming out, just the quick speed, the lack of promotion, lack of attention, and all these other factors around digital and inking and everything else, you're seeing new artists who are not given anywhere close to a good shake or a good launching pad to actually do a good job. Instead, you're seeing them almost set up for the worst possible outcome. They're going to have to learn their trade on the cheap very quickly, not with a lot of care or attention, not with a lot of time. And there's not going to be a huge upside to getting more money. Many people who live overseas are barely going to communicate with their creative team. None of those things are going to lead to a better result. Where once upon a time, you would see these artists who would grow. Look at Gary Frank back in the 90s to today. His art has become very crisp, very polished. By the time he got to Midnight Nation, his art was great. But if you look at like his early She-Hulk stuff, it was early. He had the benefit of several years of monthly comics, getting in the habit, learning the tricks, figuring out ways to do it. And he got better. Brett Booth, who we did the interview with on this channel, said the same thing. You look at his early artwork, and it was rougher. It was more rushed. And you look at his stuff today, and it's incredibly crisp and well done. He's learned the tricks. He's learned how to do it. Booth is also somebody, unless I'm wildly mistaken, I remember asking about this, he's doing the work on paper. And so there again, he's when he draws, he's thinking about the secondary, the aftermarket for those pages. He's using, it's just working better for him. So today, who is the next Gary Frank or Brett Booth? Who is the person today that will become them in 5 to 10 years? At least, who will, nobody perfects their craft in 5 to 10 years. It took Gary Frank longer, it took Brett Booth longer. But, so in 10 years, who's the artist in a comic you're reading right now for a B-list character who in 10 years is going to be one of the greats? And the question is, are we setting those people up to be great? Or are we basically ensuring a future where they don't really get better and we continue to wash them aside for whoever the newest, cheapest person is coming down the line. Unfortunately, I think that's the world we live in. Anyway, it's a good question. Has comic art gotten worse? Yeah, I think it has. But maybe you think differently. Let me know in the comments below. Tell me if you think my arguments here hold water or not. And thanks for listening.